Breaking. King Charles just publicly condemned Sadiq Khan in a scathing royal statement that sent London into total chaos. The monarch accused Khan of catastrophic mismanagement that's destroyed Britain's capital city. Over 15,000 protesters have flooded Trafalgar Square. And what happened next has constitutional experts warning of a government collapse within days. If you want to understand how this royal intervention could change British politics forever, hit that subscribe button right now because events are unfolding by the minute. Here's what sparked this unprecedented royal confrontation. 3 days ago, King Charles visited East London neighbourhoods devastated by recent flooding. His Majesty toured Hackney Wick, where families lost everything after the Thames barrier failed during last week's storms. The King spoke with Susan Williams, a 7-year-old grandmother who's been sleeping in her car for 6 nights. "Your government has abandoned you," the King told her, visibly moved by her situation. But Mayor Khan wasn't prepared to accept royal criticism. Instead of addressing the crisis, he accused the King of inappropriate political interference. Those 3 words shattered centuries of careful balance between Crown and government. The exact royal statement released just hours ago has stunned political observers across Britain. "It is with profound disappointment that I must speak publicly on the catastrophic failure of London's leadership during this crisis," the King declared in a 347-word statement released at 10:18 this morning. Palace insiders confirmed Charles personally drafted the statement without usual government approval. "When I look into the eyes of Londoners abandoned in their hour of greatest need, I cannot remain silent while political interests supersede human suffering." The Mayor's office responded within minutes, calling the statement deeply inappropriate and constitutionally dangerous. But it was too late. The King's words ignited something no politician could control. By noon, thousands had gathered outside City Hall chanting, "Charles speaks truth." Metropolitan Police report at least 7,000 protesters now surround Khan's headquarters, with numbers growing hourly. Former Home Secretary Priti Patel called the situation a constitutional earthquake unlike anything Britain has witnessed in the modern era. Sources close to Prime Minister Starmer reveal he's frantically trying to arrange an emergency meeting with the palace to prevent further escalation. Meanwhile, elderly flood victims who lost everything are sleeping in community centres that lack basic necessities. Frank Thompson, a 8-year-old veteran who served in Northern Ireland, hasn't received any assistance for 5 days. "I fought for this country, and now they've left me with nothing but wet clothes and memories," he told reporters, his voice breaking with emotion. His wife Margaret hasn't had her heart medication since Tuesday, while Khan's staff enjoy heated offices and catered lunches at City Hall. We're talking £37 taxpayer-funded meals, while pensioners queue for cold sandwiches at overcrowded shelters. The contrast is so stark, so morally indefensible, that even lifelong Labour voters are turning against the Mayor. Denise Williams, who has voted Labour for 46 years, tore up her party membership card on camera. "I'm done with them," she declared. "The King cares more than the people we elected." Then something unprecedented happened that nobody saw coming. King Charles broke royal protocol by visiting flood victims without any government officials present. At Mary's Church in Hackney, he delivered what observers are calling the most politically charged royal speech in modern British history. "The people of London deserve leadership that puts their welfare above political posturing," the King declared with barely contained anger. "When government fails its most fundamental duty to protect citizens, something is profoundly broken in our system." Royal experts say the speech wasn't just criticism, it was a direct challenge to Khan's authority. Palace insiders reveal Charles rejected 3 requests from Downing Street to tone down his remarks. "He was determined to speak truth regardless of consequences," said a senior royal aide who requested anonymity. The optics are devastating for Khan, who was photographed at a climate conference in Geneva while the King comforted flood victims in person. The fallout has been immediate and far-reaching. The pound dropped 3.7% against the dollar as international markets reacted to the constitutional crisis. Labour Party unity is fractured, with 17 MPs publicly supporting the King's intervention. Conservative leadership is calling for Khan's immediate resignation. Meanwhile, international reactions have been equally dramatic. President Trump posted on Truth Social, King Charles standing up for the people while London's mayor hides. Sounds familiar. European leaders have maintained diplomatic silence. But German newspapers describe Britain as a nation in constitutional crisis. Social media has exploded with hashtags like "Number King Charles was right," trending globally for over 14 hours. Polls conducted this morning show Khan's approval rating has collapsed to just 24%, the lowest of any London mayor since direct elections began. Street protests have spread to Birmingham, Manchester and Liverpool, where thousands are demanding mayoral accountability nationwide. Inside City Hall, absolute chaos reigns. Ministers are screaming at each other behind closed doors. Deputy Mayor Rajesh Agrawal allegedly threatened to resign during an emergency meeting. Communications Director Sarah Williams was overheard saying, "We're completely screwed," in a hallway confrontation with Khan's chief of staff. WhatsApp groups with names like Damage Control and Khan Crisis Team are frantically sharing talking points. The question isn't if Khan will resign, it's when. The mayor himself looked visibly shaken during a brief press appearance. Sources say his hands were trembling so badly he struggled to hold his papers. "I've never seen him like this," admitted a staffer who's worked with Khan for 7 years. He knows his position is untenable. 3 senior advisors have already cleared their desks, taking personal items home in anticipation of being removed from office. Emergency meetings have been called hourly, but solutions are nowhere to be found. Palace officials maintain dignified silence while Khan's team implodes under pressure. But here's the devastating revelation that could end Khan's political career permanently. Leaked emergency planning documents show Khan's office was warned about Thames barrier vulnerabilities 6 months ago. According to 3 separate sources who've seen the classified report, engineers identified critical maintenance issues that required immediate attention. The 94-page document, titled Thames Barrier Structural Integrity Assessment, explicitly warned that the barrier would likely fail during extreme weather events without immediate intervention. If these documents are authentic, and if they show what my sources claim, then Khan knowingly ignored warnings that put millions of Londoners at risk. Think about what that means. The flooding that destroyed thousands of homes and businesses wasn't a natural disaster. It was a preventable catastrophe that Khan's administration chose to ignore. The report allegedly requested £43 million for urgent repairs, but the mayor's office redirected those funds to other projects. The optics of that would be absolutely devastating. Meanwhile, Conservative mayoral candidate Susan Hall is seizing this moment with remarkable precision. While Khan stumbles through crisis management, Hall appears confident and decisive. She visited flood victims yesterday with emergency supplies purchased with her own money. "This is leadership," she told reporters while helping elderly residents clean their damaged homes, not hiding in Switzerland while London drowns. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Khan looks weak, defensive, politically wounded. Hall looks strong, compassionate, ready to lead. Londoners deserve better than empty words and excuses. She declared to cheering supporters, they deserve a mayor who puts their safety above politics. The polls tell the story. Before this crisis, Khan led by 12 points. Today, Hall has surged ahead with a 9-point advantage. For the first time in 8 years, Conservatives aren't just competitive in London's mayoral race. They're winning. The next 72 hours are critical. Parliament has called an emergency session to discuss the constitutional implications. The Prime Minister faces potential revolt from his own backbenchers. Legal experts debate whether the king overstepped his authority or fulfilled his duty to the nation. The question is no longer whether Khan can recover politically. It's whether the relationship between monarchy and government has been permanently altered. Britain is watching its political landscape transform in real time. This crisis will be studied for decades as the moment when royal influence reasserted itself in British governance. At its epicentre stands Sadiq Khan, who looks increasingly isolated, defensive and incapable of weathering the storm he created. Constitutional experts warn this standoff could force early general elections if the government can't resolve the crisis quickly. Not since the abdication crisis of 1936 has Britain faced such profound questions about the role of monarchy in modern governance. So here's the question that matters. Was King Charles right to intervene? Did Sadiq Khan fail Londoners so badly that royal intervention was necessary, or did the king dangerously overstep constitutional boundaries that have preserved British democracy for centuries? What do you think? Would you rather have a monarch who speaks truth to power or one who stays silent while citizens suffer? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And if this story shocked you as much as it shocked us, share it with everyone who needs to see what's really happening in Britain right now. The mainstream media won't tell you the full truth, but we will. And tomorrow, we'll reveal shocking new evidence about who actually controls London's emergency response system. You won't believe what we've uncovered. The evidence against Khan's administration grows more damning by the hour. Just 47 minutes ago, The Telegraph published photos of the mayor attending a luxury dinner with property developers at Claridge's Hotel. The dinner took place on Tuesday evening, the same night thousands of flood victims slept on community centre floors. While elderly Londoners shivered without heat or proper food, Khan enjoyed a 5-course meal that cost £280 per plate. Sources at the event described the mayor as relaxed and jovial, even toasting to London's resilient future while sipping £600 bottles of wine. The timing couldn't be more catastrophic for a mayor already facing calls to resign. Social media erupted with side-by-side images. Flood victims queuing for blankets next to Khan, raising crystal glassware in a chandelier-lit ballroom. The king's intervention didn't happen in isolation. Palace sources revealed Charles received over 700 letters from flood victims describing government abandonment. His Majesty reportedly spent 3 hours reading these accounts personally, becoming visibly emotional at the suffering described. "I've never seen him so affected by public correspondence," said a senior royal aide who's worked with the monarchy for 26 years. The final straw came when Charles received photographs of 4-year-old Elizabeth Wilson, a decorated World War II nurse, sleeping on a plastic chair in a school gymnasium 5 days after losing her home. "Something broke in him," the aide confided. "He decided protocol could no longer justify royal silence. What makes this truly extraordinary is that the king consulted directly with Princess Anne and Prince William before making his decision. Both senior royals reportedly supported his intervention despite the constitutional risks. Labour Party unity has completely collapsed in the aftermath. A WhatsApp group called Post-Khan Planning now includes 43 Labour MPs discussing replacement candidates. Angela Rayner, previously one of Khan's strongest allies, hasn't defended him publicly since the crisis began. When pressed by BBC's Laura Quensberg this morning, Rayner offered this damning response. "Everyone in public service must be accountable to those they serve. Not a word of support, not a hint of loyalty, just cold political calculation." Starmer's own silence speaks volumes. The Prime Minister has issued only a vague 37-word statement calling for calm and constitutional respect. Westminster insiders report Starmer is furious with Khan for creating a crisis that could destabilise the entire Labour government. "Khan has become radioactive," explained a senior Labour strategist. "Supporting him now is political suicide." But wait, because the situation just escalated dramatically. Newly obtained security footage shows Khan's emergency management team leaving their operations centre at 4:30 p.m. last Wednesday, just as floodwaters began breaching Thames defences. The Emergency Command Centre, which should have been staffed 24/7 during the crisis, sat empty for nearly 3 hours during the most critical period. When questioned about this abandonment, Khan's spokesperson offered a response so inadequate it borders on political malpractice. Staff were rotating shifts as part of standard protocol. Standard protocol? While London experienced its worst flooding in 70 years, the Metropolitan Police Commissioner looked visibly stunned when shown this footage during an emergency briefing. "This isn't just incompetence," he reportedly told senior officers. "This is dereliction of duty." Here's where it gets even more shocking. Former Emergency Management Director James Harrington, who resigned from Khan's administration last year, has come forward with explosive allegations. "I warned the mayor repeatedly about our unprepared state," Harrington told Sky News in an exclusive interview this morning. "I submitted 3 separate reports detailing critical vulnerabilities in London's emergency response system. All were ignored." Harrington didn't just make claims, he provided documentation. Emails dating back 18 months show increasingly urgent warnings sent directly to Khan's office. One email, sent just 4 months ago, stated in bold text, "Our current resources cannot handle a major flooding event. Immediate action required." Khan's response? Harrington was removed from emergency planning meetings and eventually pushed to resign. "They wanted positive assessments, not honest ones," Harrington concluded. Financial documents reveal something equally disturbing. London's emergency preparedness budget was cut by 28% last fiscal year, with £17.3 million redirected to projects described only as mayoral priorities. When journalists filed Freedom of Information requests to identify these priorities, Khan's office refused to provide details, citing security concerns. But leaked internal memos tell a different story. At least £8.4 million went to a controversial London identity marketing campaign featuring the mayor prominently on billboards across the city. Another £5.7 million funded international trade missions that critics describe as glorified photo opportunities, all while emergency services warned of catastrophic unpreparedness. The contrast is morally indefensible. Meanwhile, King Charles has demonstrated leadership that puts elected officials to shame. After visiting East London, His Majesty opened royal residences to displaced families. Clarence House now houses 47 elderly flood victims, with royal staff providing round-the-clock care. The King personally donated £2 million from the Duchy of Cornwall to emergency relief efforts. When royal aides suggested scaling back due to constitutional concerns, Charles reportedly responded, "The monarchy exists to serve the people, especially when government fails them." The public has noticed this stark contrast. Polls show 82% of Britons approve of the King's actions, with support crossing all political and demographic lines. Even lifelong Republicans are praising Charles's intervention. "I've never supported the monarchy," admitted Marcus Reynolds, a 63-year-old teacher from Islington, but at least Charles showed up when it mattered. The international fallout continues to intensify. French President Macron expressed concern for British democratic stability during a press conference in Brussels. CNN ran a devastating 17-minute special titled "British Breakdown: When Monarchy Outperforms Democracy." Financial analysts at Deutsche Bank issued an investor warning about governance uncertainty in the UK, citing the unusual assertiveness of the monarchy in political affairs. The pound continues its slide, reaching its lowest value against the euro in 7 years. Tourism officials report cancellations of London hotel bookings have surged by 42%, as visitors reconsider travel to a city they perceive as unstable and possibly unsafe. The economic consequences of this political crisis grow more severe hourly. Here's the development that's truly unprecedented. Classified documents reveal Khan attempted to prevent the king from visiting flood-affected areas. According to 3 separate sources with direct knowledge, Khan's office contacted Buckingham Palace last Sunday, requesting the king postpone any planned visits until the situation stabilises. Palace officials were stunned by the transparent attempt to block royal. "It was immediately obvious this wasn't about security or logistics," said a senior royal aide. "The mayor simply didn't want the king highlighting his administration's failures. Charles not only rejected the request but accelerated his visit plans. This direct defiance of mayoral wishes represents a dramatic shift in the relationship between monarchy and local government." Constitutional experts call it the most significant assertion of royal prerogative in the modern era. The human toll of this political drama can't be overstated. While Khan and Charles dominate headlines, thousands of Londoners continue suffering without adequate assistance. Margaret Wilkins, 71, lost everything when floodwaters destroyed her East London flat. "I've been waiting 6 days for emergency housing," she told reporters, still wearing the same clothes she escaped in. "They keep saying help is coming, but nothing happens." Over 4,200 Londoners remain in temporary shelters without clear timelines for permanent resettlement. Emergency services report shortages of everything from blankets to clean drinking water. Yet, Khan's office continues issuing statements focused almost exclusively on defending the mayor's reputation rather than addressing the crisis. "It's like we don't exist to them," said Robert Thompson, a 8-year-old flood victim. "Thank God the King at least sees us." Parliament descended into chaos this morning during emergency debates about the constitutional crisis. Conservative MP Jacob Rees-Mogg delivered a blistering attack on Khan, calling him the most catastrophically incompetent official in modern British governance. Labour MPs attempted to defend their party colleague, but their arguments lacked conviction and were frequently interrupted by opposition jeers. The Speaker had to suspend proceedings twice due to MPs shouting across the chamber. During one particularly heated exchange, a junior minister was heard muttering, "This is the end of us," to a colleague, unaware his microphone remained active. Political analysts described the atmosphere in Westminster as pre-collapse, with government authority eroding hourly. The most damning development may be what's happening within Khan's own emergency response team. 6 senior officials have now resigned, including London's emergency planning coordinator and the head of disaster response. Their resignation letters leaked to the press paint a devastating picture of an administration more concerned with public relations than public safety. "I cannot, in good conscience, continue serving in a system where political calculations supersede human welfare," wrote emergency planning coordinator Dr. Helen Davidson in her resignation. The failures during this crisis weren't accidental. They were the inevitable result of systematic neglect and misplaced priorities. These aren't just disgruntled employees. They're the very experts London relied upon during its darkest hour. Their mass exodus represents a complete collapse of public confidence in Khan's leadership. Conservative leadership is moving rapidly to capitalise on Labour's disarray. Prime Minister Starmer now faces potential no-confidence votes from his own backbenchers. Parliamentary sources confirm at least 34 Labour MPs have privately indicated they would support replacing Starmer if he continues defending Khan. "The calculation is simple," explained political analyst Jonathan Simmons. "Labour MPs in marginal seats know supporting Khan means losing their seats in the next election. Self-preservation now trumps party loyalty." Opposition leader Rishi Sunak has called for immediate general elections, arguing the government has lost its mandate to lead during national emergencies. His approval ratings have surged 14 points in just 3 days as he positions himself as the stable alternative to Labour chaos. The clock is now ticking for Khan's political survival. Constitutional experts give him less than 72 hours before resignation becomes inevitable. Even his closest allies are distancing themselves, preparing for the political aftermath. Emergency meetings scheduled at Labour headquarters suggest party leadership is already discussing replacement candidates. Meanwhile, King Charles continues demonstrating the quiet dignity that's won unprecedented public support. When asked by a flood victim if he had overstepped his constitutional role, the King's response was both simple and profound. "My duty is to all Britons, especially those most vulnerable. Everything else is secondary." In this single sentence, Charles redefined the modern monarchy, not as a ceremonial relic, but as a moral compass when elected leadership fails. So was the King right to speak out? Has Britain reached a turning point where royal intervention becomes necessary when democratic institutions falter, or does this dangerous precedent threaten the very foundation of parliamentary democracy? The debate raging across Britain isn't just about Khan's failures or Charles's actions, it's about what kind of governance the British people deserve in the 21st century. And that's what makes this moment truly historic. This isn't just another political scandal, it's a fundamental reassessment of how power functions in modern Britain. The consequences will reshape British politics for generations. Share this video with anyone who cares about Britain's future. And don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow we're releasing exclusive documents proving Khan's office deliberately misled the public about flood risks. The evidence is undeniable, and you won't see it anywhere else. This is just the beginning of the story, and things are about to get much worse for London's embattled mayor.